After years adrift in space, the Star Trek film franchise is finally resuming its historic voyages thanks to Paramount Pictures. The studio has announced that a new Star Trek feature film is on the way, with Andor director Toby Haynes set to steer the starship. So join us today as we show you everything we know about the new Star Trek movie under works at Paramount. Paramount developing new Star Trek prequel film set decades before 2009 reboot. That's right, the studio is developing a new Star Trek prequel film that will be set decades before the timeline-altering events of the 2009 Star Trek movie. This means we will be getting a glimpse at the Star Trek universe long before James T. Kirk ever sat in the captain's chair of the USS Enterprise. But you gotta keep watching, Star Trek fans, because this story is just getting started. Now, this prequel won't be the long-rumored Star Trek IV sequel that fans were expecting. Instead, Paramount is blasting us into uncharted territory in the Star Trek timeline. The new film will take place in the Prime timeline before the creation of the Kelvin timeline split that occurred in the opening moments of the 2009 reboot. So set your phasers to stunned, because this movie is gonna blow Star Trek fans' minds. Leading the voyage in the past will be director Toby Haynes, who has helmed episodes of classic sci-fi shows like Doctor Who and Andor. Bringing his television expertise to the big screen, Haynes will navigate the Star Trek ship into bolder new frontiers. The prequel's plot is still tightly under wraps at Starfleet headquarters, but providing the script will be writer Seth Grahame-Smith, known for his work on the Lego Batman movie and his literary mashups like Pride and Prejudice and Zombies. Now, with a writer like that at the helm, you know this prequel story is going to be wild. This amazing new direction for the franchise shows that Paramount is committed to seeking out new life forms and new civilizations within the rich Star Trek universe. Who will be the cast in this new movie? Well, casting details remain top secret in Starfleet's classified files, but it is likely we will see a crew of fresh new faces due to the shift in the timeline. Set your phasers to fun, because this thrill ride is sure to push the warp drive limits of excitement. Grahame-Smith and Haynes have proved that they can deliver action, laughs, and imaginative worlds that captivate audiences. And with Abrams in the captain's chair as producer, we can expect a stellar Star Trek story that honors the franchise's roots while blasting off into uncharted territory. What will be the plot of the new movie? This prequel film will explore the early days of Starfleet and the genesis of the United Federation of Planets before the timeline of the main Star Trek series and films. This upcoming origin story has the potential to shed light on previously unseen chapters in Federation history, and here are some of the exciting directions this prequel could take to chart the beginnings of Starfleet and the Federation. A sweeping epic about the pivotal Earth-Romulan War. One prime candidate for the plot would be setting the film during the crucial Earth-Romulan War, first mentioned but never depicted in the original Star Trek series. This devastating interstellar conflict took place roughly 80 years before the timeline of the J.J. Abrams Kelvin movies, so it would showcase a completely new period and corner of the Star Trek universe. The war was a defining moment that shaped the early history of the Federation. Seeing this major event dramatized on screen for the first time would fulfill many fans' wishes. The sprawling galactic war would also provide plenty of fodder for epic space battles and effect sequences to thrill general audiences. Highlighting how early Starfleet persevered against the Romulans could make for a sweeping Trek origin story. Kirk's father George and the USS Kelvin crew. Another prime angle for an origin tale would be showcasing the valiant crew of the USS Kelvin, namely George Kirk, father of the legendary James T. Kirk. Fans briefly met George when he heroically sacrificed himself just minutes into the 2009 Star Trek film. A whole movie devoted to George Kirk and the Kelvin's crew would shed new light on this pivotal but largely unexplored part of Federation history. Seeing the Federation's earliest space pioneers embark on their voyages leading up to the fateful attack by Nero that altered the timeline would provide poignant insight into Kirk's family origins. Watching the pieces fall into place for how George Kirk's brave sacrifice inspired his son's future path would captivate Trek fans eager for these missing details. The early missions of Enterprise's intrepid crew. While it might seem unlikely, bringing back the crew of the very first Starship Enterprise NX-01 from the prequel series Enterprise could offer some closure. Their early voyages helping form the Federation are still largely untold. Seeing Captain Archer T'Pol, Tucker, and the rest working alongside other pioneering Starfleet officers and diplomats to build the Federation would be a fitting final adventure. Archer assisting those in founding efforts, perhaps even in an admiral or Federation president role, would make for a satisfying finale for this fan-favorite crew. They never did receive their proper due, so one more mission that ties up loose ends could grant them a worthy big-screen send-off. Captain Pike's journey from cadet to captain. Pike has featured in the recent Trek films, but delving into his background and rise through Starfleet's ranks has potential. Following a young, ambitious Pike as he enrolls in Starfleet Academy and climbs the ranks, becoming increasingly disillusioned with Starfleet's direction, could offer insight into how he becomes the captain who will mentor Kirk. Seeing the Federation's optimistic beginnings through Pike's eyes as he grows from a wide-eyed cadet into a principled captain would showcase a transformative coming-of-age story. Audiences could connect with Pike's evolution over decades as he navigates Starfleet's highs and lows. His path from cadet to captain during the Federation's formative years could form the spine for an engaging origin story. The fall of Captain Edison and the Franklin crew. One of the most compelling origin plots could explore the USS Franklin crew under Idris Elba's Captain Edison before they disappeared. Chronicling Edison's growing discontent with Starfleet and descent into darkness would provide a thought-provoking examination of Starfleet's utopian ideals. Observing as mounting losses and disillusionment push Edison and his crew towards extremism would force audiences to re-examine Federation principles. Seeing Elba's charismatic captain question everything he once stood for and slowly abandon Federation values could drive an intense, morally complex Trek tale. Edison's fall from grace during the Federation's early conflicts would enable a nuanced origin story. Is there a trailer to the new movie? While Paramount Pictures has announced that they are actively developing a new Star Trek origin movie, fans eagerly are awaiting their first look will unfortunately have to keep waiting. No trailer or even teaser footage from the upcoming prequel film has been released yet. This highly anticipated next chapter in the Star Trek saga is still early in production, so it will likely be some time before any video sneak peeks at the new Trek film are unveiled. But for now, we will just have to keep speculating and dreaming up what amazing galactic adventures this origin story might explore when it finally beams onto the big screen. There is sure to be plenty of excitement when the first trailer eventually drops and gives viewers a taste of the sci-fi epic scope and vision. Stay tuned. So when can we expect the new movie to be released? While Paramount has yet to announce an official release date for the upcoming Star Trek prequel film, some speculative math can provide a ballpark idea of when it could hit theaters. If production begins in mid to late 2024 as projected, that timeline would likely target a release in late 2025 or mid-2026. Big budget blockbusters typically spend 1 to 2 years filming before their theatrical debut. And given the complex VFX these sci-fi epics demand, fans can probably expect the new Trek movie to warp onto the big screen in late 2025 at the very earliest, but more likely the summer or fall of 2026. Of course, the studio could accelerate or delay that schedule, but speculation suggests a 2025-2026 target for the next Trek adventure to unveil its epic vision. One fan said, Toby Haynes directed Andor, which is the best Star Wars material I've encountered since Rogue One. If this new Trek movie is half as good as Andor, it should be very enjoyable. It'll also be a nice departure from the Trek Too Furious direction that previous movies had been moving toward. While another fan said, I have no hope that this will be good. Kirk is fine, Uhura is fine, Spock is fine, McCoy is great, Scotty, meh. But every one of those movies in this timeline sucked, and since it's J.J. Abrams again, this one will suck also. He is the Chris Chibnall of Star Trek. Now, as we wait for more on this new movie, you would love to see Star Trek IV The Voyage Home trailer with Chris Pine, first look, and new details.